Hello everyone, this article is about measuring fuel pressure on Mazda RX7 FDs. I've mentioned in other articles the benefits of measuring fuel pressure. First of all, it can allow you to determine the health of the fuel system, but it can also be used for the ECU to automatically inject the correct amount of fuel based on fuel pressure changes. So we're highly recommending adding one when you're installing an aftermarket ECU, especially with a highly modified fuel system. Now, most highly modified RX7 engines convert the factory secondary injectors at least to a top feed style to allow a higher flow rate injector to be fitted. Because the factory fuel pressure regulator is mounted on the secondary rail, this normally requires an external aftermarket regulator to be fitted. Normally these regulators have a 1/8 NPT port in them for screwing in a gauge, and that allows you a convenient location to screw in a fuel pressure sensor. The sensors that we sell are 0 to 150 psi gauge pressure. You can use another sensor if you like, you just need to make sure that it's a stainless steel internal construction so it can be used for fuel. Once you've mounted the fuel pressure sensor and checked for leaks, you can wire it into the ECU. There are two ways to do this on a plug and play ECU. The first way is to wire it into the dedicated fuel pressure input pins on the ECU. To locate this pin, go into the software and select the wiring information page and you'll see which pin it's on. For example, on the Series 6 it's pin 1F. So cut this wire and run this wire out to the signal output pin of the pressure sensor. The 5 volts and ground for the pressure sensor can either come from the TPS or the oil metering pump wires, or you can wire them back to the ECU and connect them there. Again, those pins are visible on the wiring diagram. The signal ground is 4D and the 5 volt supply is pin 3I on the Series 6. An alternative method, if you're using the internal map sensor on the ECU, is to wire all 3 of the fuel pressure sensor pins to the factory map sensor pins and then use the factory map sensor input on the ECU as a fuel pressure input instead. Also, when you set up the software, you'll need to select the fuel pressure type. So 0 to 150 psi gauge is the most common sensor that people use, and that's the one that we sell. If you're using a different one, then you'll need to select a different calibration. And if it's not there, then you'll need to enter the calibration manually. Once you're satisfied it's reading correctly, set the fuel pressure mode to be measured rather than nominal, and then the ECU will automatically compensate for differences in fuel pressure, provided you've got the correct injector data entered. Thank you very much.